Tonight on Bridge City News, smoke from the northern Alberta wildfires has now made its way to southern Alberta. We speak with a doctor from the AHS about the best way to protect yourself. The poor air quality impacts many, including those who have cystic fibrosis. We speak with someone who shares her challenge on smoky days like today. And U.S. Vice President Mike Pence says the U.S. will help Canada free the 2 Canadians arrested for spying in China.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Hal Roberts.
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. There are now 28 wildfires burning in northern Alberta, and 9 of them are out of control. Government officials say there are 2,300 firefighters battling the blazes, using 200 helicopters and 27 air tankers. The worst is still the Chuckegg Creek wildfire, southwest of High Level, which has grown to 230,000 hectares. The Battle Complex wildfire in Peace River is over 44,000 hectares. More than 7,500 people have now been evacuated. The town of Slave Lake is also on an 8-hour evacuation order. You may recall that part of Slave Lake was destroyed by wildfire in 2011 and is currently housing many who were evacuated from High Level a week ago. So far, the province has dished out more than $6.2 million in evacuee support. Environment Canada has issued air quality statements for many regions of our province, including right here in southwestern Alberta. The smoke has affected cities from High Level to Edmonton, Calgary, Red Deer, Medicine Hat, and here in Lethbridge.
I do think there's a lot of smoke across the province right now. It's been floating around for a number of days with the fires in the northern part of the province. Edmonton had some significant air quality issues yesterday with AQHIs of 10+. That moved into Calgary and southern Alberta, including the Lethbridge area in basically the overnight period today. And so we certainly do have a lot of poor air quality around the province. I do think that the smoke is going to be hanging around for a while. AQHIs in the Lethbridge area of around 7 in late morning on Friday here. I think basically just take the precautions that you need to stay safe and listen to your health authorities when it comes to understanding how this smoke is going to affect you.
Environment Canada says the wildfire smoke from our province has also made its way to both Saskatchewan and British Columbia. The air quality index for Lethbridge today was 7, which is high risk. Dr. Lizette Elamure with Alberta Health Services says there are ways you can protect yourself from the smoke.
When you have smoke, you have what they call fine particulate matter. That's what gets into your lungs. That's what causes symptoms. So that's why we have these air quality monitors that gives us an idea of risk. So low risk, moderate risk, high risk. And the higher the risk, the more likely you may get lung symptoms or respiratory symptoms, especially if you have other health problems, such as if you have asthma or if you have other chronic diseases. If you're an infant or if you're a senior, you have higher risks, and the higher the risk, the higher the air quality risk, the higher risk you have as well. So this is why we tell people that when you follow air quality and you notice that you're near the moderate or high risk, to monitor your symptoms. Meaning, when you're outside, how do you feel? Are you feeling more tired? Are you feeling more short of breath? Do you start coughing? And when you notice that, we encourage people to go inside, and we don't mean to go inside like as in your car. We say in places like where you know there's air conditioners, because then we know air is circulating, like a mall or your home. That's why we say things like HEPA filters, specialized filters do help with home air quality. Or if you're in your car, we tell you to recirculate the air inside your car. Things like that, decreases the exposure to the outside air, and then it decreases your risk for respiratory symptoms and illness.
The poor air quality impacts many in our region, including those with cystic fibrosis. Kaylin Steele has been battling the disease for many years, and she says days like today can be a real challenge.
Adults with CF, like myself, we spend about an hour, or some people spend more, doing breathing treatments every day. And that can range from medication to physiotherapy to special ways of airway clearance. And basically every day you're just trying to maintain a level where you can feel normal or as best as possible. And when the air quality is worse, it's an uphill battle. You just notice instantly, because our airways are so restricted already. And so it does limit our quality of life.
According to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, more than 70,000 people around the world battle CF. Close to 1,000 new cases are diagnosed each and every year. David and Colette Steffen were both back in Lethbridge Court today asking for a stay in proceedings. The couple, who was originally convicted in 2016 of failing to provide the necessaries of life for their son Ezekiel, who died of meningitis, appealed their conviction, and the Supreme Court of Canada ordered a new trial. The couple wants Alberta Health Services to turn over evidence.
It's interesting, when you're looking at a medical case of this kind, it's medical documents that are being tendered against the accused, ourselves, and yet it's been cherry-picked. We don't have all of it. What they've done is systematically removed or lost or withheld any of the documents during the most critical times of Ezekiel's care that led up to his death. And so the question is, will we ever truly know what Ezekiel died from? I'm not sure we will.
The new trial for the Steffens begins on June the 3rd. The Lethbridge Christian School Society had a groundbreaking ceremony this morning. The school's 24 by 24 project aims to raise $500,000 over 5 years to go towards the expansion.
I wouldn't be in this position if I didn't believe that God did have a plan for this school, for this community, and for our lives. And so my desire is that this building, as it completes, I guess, its full design phase, that it is able to house and bless families, and that they come to know the God more intimately through His Son Jesus Christ, and that we have a place to not only do that, but really to bless the community around us. And I think that's an area that we need to grow in. I don't know how that is all going to work out, but I want this school to not only be a blessing to the families that attend here, but also to the community around it.
I'm very excited about the initiative that they've taken to really leverage the finances they have to do more and to build extra space, that extra gymnasium, the extra classroom. I think they've really gone a proactive way to see what they can do, and it's really exciting to see them get to this stage.
Phase 1 features additional office space, washrooms, and 4 classrooms, including a science lab art room and a kitchen home economics room and added custodial storage. The target completion date for Phase 1 is August of 2020. One group of Indigenous singers from all over Canada has been recognized on an international stage. Ainsley O'Reilly talks about the message behind their music.
About 18 years ago, Jacob and his 2 brothers began what would become Young Spirit. The group now has members from BC, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, California, Nevada, Montana, and Washington.
Basically, if you consider the Glenn Sather of the Oilers dynasty era, that's basically my role. I've become kind of like the GM of the group.
Their last album was nominated for a Grammy and won an Indigenous Musical Award. It was dedicated to missing and murdered Indigenous women, while their upcoming album highlights mental health. All of their music comes with a message.
We need to look at society as, are we going to be a part of the solution or part of the problem? And if you're not part of the solution, well, guess what? You're part of the problem. So how are you going to be part of the solution? And then that's where I encourage and challenge our youth to explore that.
The drummers didn't win at the Grammys, and Jacob was devastated.
I felt like I'd let down First Nation people everywhere. I don't know why, but I felt like this was an opportunity for our music to be recognized, and we weren't able to do it.
Afterwards, the group ended up singing on the red carpet 3 times.
An older lady tapped my shoulder, and she was like in her 60s or so, around there. And she said, I've been organizing the red carpet for quite a number of years, and nobody's ever sang here. And I want to tell you, if any place needed blessings, and it was here, and I'm so thankful that you shared your music here. And she was in tears.
Jacob's moving his family to Lethbridge, and he wants people to know that if anyone has a house for rent, to let him know. For Bridge City News, I'm Ainsley O'Reilly.
Students and staff were invited to learn about centuries-old Indigenous traditions. BCN's Loris Alexander shares the sights and sounds of a powwow from Galbraith Elementary School.
Thundering drums shook the floors and walls of Galbraith Elementary School this morning as students and staff gathered to celebrate the Lethbridge School District Powwow.
It's a celebration of National Indigenous Peoples Day, which is June 21st. and each year a school in our district will host it. So this year we're hosting it at Galbraith Elementary.
This is our second year trying it here. First year we were rained out a little bit by the weather. But having it here in our community is a very special event, and it's a privilege to have the district powwow here. We have a lot of community members it takes to organize this event, and we're very fortunate that they come together and make a day like this happen.
A powwow is a social gathering where everyone is invited to dance, sing, and celebrate Indigenous culture.
We have been doing a district powwow for the last several years throughout our school district, and we invite different dancers from the community. We also have dancers from the schools that come out and dance and showcase their talents in various styles of dance.
It's an event where they get to see what it takes to be a dancer in the Blackfoot culture and what it takes to be a part of an event like this, and I think they get a really good sense of Blackfoot First Nations language and traditions and prayer.
Fox says powwows are a great way to inspire others to gather for truth and reconciliation. For Bridge City News, I'm Loris Alexander.
8 Albertans will become members of the Alberta Order of Excellence in 2019. 2 are from our region. Ron Sakamoto from Lethbridge, and the other is Malcolm Sissons of Medicine Hat. Lieutenant Governor Lois Mitchell said in a press release that these extraordinary Albertans have maintained a lifelong commitment to making a real difference in the lives of others. They're great examples to remind us of the importance of giving back and inspire us all to share our best with the world. The ceremony will take place October 17th in Edmonton. This will bring the total membership of the Alberta Order of Excellence to 181. The federal government says it will move quickly to impose a carbon tax on Alberta now that the province's pricing system has been scrapped. The UCP cancelled the provincial tax on gas and home heating fuels put in place by the previous NDP government. Premier Jason Kenney says the tax did not stop the global rise of carbon emissions, and his government is delivering the biggest tax break in the province's history to get rid of it. He also says if the federal government imposes its carbon tax, he will join other provinces fighting it in court. U.S. Vice President Mike Pence says Prime Minister Justin Trudeau drove a hard bargain when it came to the new trilateral North American Trade Pact. Pence was in Ottawa saying he hopes the new deal will be ratified this summer. He also said the U.S. is helping Canada to get Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig released. The 2 Canadians were arrested for spying in China. Many feel it was in retaliation to the arrest last December of Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou in Vancouver.
We're in the midst of significant discussions over our trading relationship. But I can assure you in that context and going forward, we're going to continue to urge China to release the Canadian citizens, even while we deal with the larger economic and structural issues between the United States and China. We are standing with Canada in this effort. We respect and are grateful for the strong stand for the rule of law that Canada has taken with regard to the Huawei executive, and we'll continue to engage on the issue.
A levee along the Arkansas River has breached, which has prompted a flash flood warning and an evacuation of a rural area in western Arkansas. Emergency officials have recommended that about 160 homes be evacuated. Emergency management officials say crews are going door to door to recommend residents evacuate. Forecasters said residents should be prepared for rapidly rising water. The levee breached because of ongoing flooding along the Arkansas River, which began in Oklahoma. A hospital in San Diego revealed the birth of a girl believed to be the world's tiniest surviving baby. She weighed just 8.6 ounces in December and was discharged from hospital this month, weighing a very healthy 5 pounds.
It was the scariest day of my life. They told me that I had preeclampsia. My blood pressure was very, very high, over 200, and they had to deliver her really quick. And I kept telling them, but she's not going to survive. I'm only 23 weeks. They told my husband that he had about an hour with her and that she was going to pass away. But that hour turned into 2 hours, which turned into a day, which turned into a week.
She's a miracle, that's for sure.
I'm just really proud of them and the baby, and to see I told you. Just like see them transform as parents and see this little baby go home that usually is like completely against all odds.
I just want her to know how strong she is. And I mean, if she can start off where she was and do as well as she can be, there's nothing she can't do.
I feel blessed. I mean, she is the smallest baby, but she's mine.
Talk about a miracle and oh so beautiful. Toronto Raptors struck first in the NBA Finals last night with a thrilling 118-109 win over the Golden State Warriors. Pascal Siakam led the way with 32 points for the winners. Raptors head coach Nick Nurse says it was a great team win, but his team still has a little bit of work to do.
You know, the big thing is you gotta continue to play defense all throughout the game, even though you're trying really hard sometimes, and they'll come down and they'll make you look silly sometimes. They'll hit cut, boom, layup, and you're just like, man, what happened? That happened fast. And you know, we just said that some of those breakdowns will happen. You know, we need our weak side to be good. We were close a few on and just didn't rotate on a few of those, but you take it out and you go back down and you try to answer, you know, you get a shot and you try to answer, and you try not to have any droughts on offense, because I mean, you know, their ability to score quick. I think, again, as I kept saying in the Milwaukee series, offense is really important for us here, taking care of the ball and getting shots and getting some to go through the net. Because if they take it from you, they're down the floor in a hurry, probably spraying for a three. And if they're playing off the rim all the time, they're coming downhill fast at you, and either at the rim or spraying.
The Best of 7 affair continues Sunday in Toronto. More great family fun movies are playing at the Movie Mill this weekend. With more, here's Len Binning with another Movie Mill Minute.
A family animated film by the name of Ugly Dolls, set in, where else? Uglyville, where Moxie and her friends celebrate the fact that they're different, that they're unique, and beauty is more than skin deep.
Welcome to the Institute of Perfection. Remember, only pretty dolls will meet their perfect human match.
You're an engineer/model. You're a boy doll/model. You're not a model. Data does not compute.
Next up is The Sun is also a star. Romantic college-bound Daniel and Jamaican-born Natasha magically fall in love one day. However, it's a race against time, as she's due to return to Jamaica any day now.
I don't believe in love.
So no magic, no fate, no meant to be. What if I told you I could get you to fall in love with me? Just give me a day.
An hour.
This is our 25th anniversary, and we're excited to be a part of the Lethbridge community. We invite you to come on down and see what we have to offer.
Looks like some great movies at the Mill once again. And when you're there, make sure you try the popcorn. It's some of the best in town. A smoky, hazy day today, but mild. There's some rain in the forecast to help clear out some of that smoke. Complete weather details are coming up. Lots of smoky conditions today. Tonight, a chance of thunder showers developing with a low near 9 degrees. Tomorrow, smoke mixed with sun and a high near 28 degrees. Sunday, mainly sunny with the mercury climbing to 30. Monday, expect a high near 29 degrees. Cooling off slightly on Tuesday and Wednesday with a daytime high near 26 expected. More clouds on Thursday with a high near 25. Looking at the almanac, the average high for this time of year is 20 and an average low of 7. The highest temperature on this date was recorded in 1956 at 30 degrees, and the record low was -1 in 1982. Sunrise was at 5:30, sunset at 9:28. Looking at the national forecast for tomorrow now, Victoria will be mainly sunny at 22, Vancouver lots of sunshine as well and a high expected near 21. A special air quality statement has been issued by Environment Canada for most of our province. Calgary will be smoky and 26, lots of haze in Edmonton as well and a high near 28 tomorrow. Regina will have sun mixed with cloud and a high near 25. Saskatoon will also be cloudy and 25 degrees. Winnipeg will be mainly sunny and 20. Toronto will be mostly cloudy and 21. Ottawa will be overcast and 18. Montreal will be mainly sunny and 21. In the Maritimes, Fredericton, New Brunswick will have lots of sunshine and 23. Halifax, Nova Scotia will be overcast and 18. Charlottetown, PEI will be mainly sunny and 18. And in St. John's, Newfoundland, expect showers and a high near 7 degrees tomorrow. With U.S. Vice President Mike Pence in Ottawa yesterday, the federal Conservatives blasted the Liberals, saying Canada caved to all of the U.S. demands during negotiations of the new NAFTA deal.
Today, the
U.S. Vice President is here to thank the Prime Minister for giving up concession after concession after concession in the renegotiation of NAFTA. He basically gave Trump absolutely everything he wanted. The Prime Minister made major concessions on dairy, on pharmaceuticals, on automobiles. He failed to stand up for Canada. Why did the Liberals capitulate to the U.S. on every single one of their trade demands?
Canadians can be glad that we did not follow their lead and stood firm for a good deal. If we had followed their advice, we wouldn't have a Chapter 19, something that we would have completely dismantled supply management. We would have had to have devastating effects on our auto sector, and within 5 years we would have had a sunsetting of the deal. We stood up for Canadians. We got a great deal, Mr. Speaker.
The Alberta agency that regulates legalized cannabis sales has lifted a moratorium on new retail cannabis licenses. Alberta Gaming, Liquor and Cannabis says the decision to end the moratorium on new retail applications and licenses is due to a steady increase in supply. The agency says it will now issue 5 retail cannabis licenses a week. It says lifting the moratorium supports economic development and the success of Alberta's budding cannabis industry. Canada's food safety watchdog wants feedback on the proposed guidelines for Product of Canada and Made in Canada food labeling claims. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says the guidelines better reflect market realities. The agency says it would help the food industry produce and sell Canadian products. The guidelines were reviewed by the government, and now consultation has begun with the food industry on potential changes. The agency says it now wants to hold public consultations. Now, here's a look at today's markets. Recapping one of our top stories this hour, there are now 28 wildfires burning in our province, with 9 that are currently out of control. The Chuckegg Creek wildfire near High Level is the largest at 230,000 hectares. There are currently 2,300 firefighters battling the blazes in northern Alberta. Environment Canada has issued air quality statements for most of our province because of the smoke. The air quality in Lethbridge is at 7, which is considered high risk. There are rumors circulating in Ottawa that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau could be replaced if the Liberals fail to win re-election. Our parliamentary reporter Ray Fillion tells us who Trudeau's successor may be. That interview is next. But first, here's a look what's happening in and around your community.
Here's your Bridge City News community calendar. The Lethbridge Gutsy Walk for Crohn's and Colitis is taking place Sunday, June 2nd at Henderson Lake Park Kiwanis Picnic Shelter. Registration begins at 10 a.m. with the walk starting at 11. To get a pledge form and to sign up, visit gutsywalk.ca or call 1-888-884-2232. Target Hunger is an annual food drive being held on Saturday, June 8th, and organizers are seeking volunteers to help drop off and collect the yellow bags throughout the city, along with sorting out food at the food banks on event day. Volunteers who want to help with drop-off and collection will need to have access to a vehicle. To sign up, visit targethungerlethbridge.com or call the Lethbridge Food Bank at 403-320-1879 or the Interfaith Food Bank at 403-320-8779. The annual Dragon Boat Festival is coming up June 21st to the 23rd in Lethbridge, and there are several opportunities for volunteers to get involved in this fun event. Organizers are looking for ride-side assistance, help with administration and t-shirt tents, and more. For more information on how to get involved and to sign up, visit lethbridgedragonfest.ca. And that's your Bridge City News community calendar.
There's some strong rumors coming out of Ottawa that Justin Trudeau may be replaced if he does not win in October. To talk more about this and other big stories from the Hill is our parliamentary reporter Ray Fillion. Ray, why don't you share with our viewers who Mr. Trudeau's successor may be?
Well, the Toronto Star reported earlier this week that many Liberals are thinking about Mark Carney, who is currently the governor of the Bank of England, but he's Canadian. He's actually the former governor of the Bank of Canada here in Ottawa, as a potential successor to Justin Trudeau should he lose the October election. Obviously, if Mr. Trudeau loses, he'll have no choice but to vacate his seat as Liberal leader. I don't think that they would want to bring him back to fight another election. So some Liberals have told the Toronto Star that, yeah, Mark Carney could be an interesting successor to Mr. Trudeau. Obviously, we asked the question this week to many Liberal MPs and cabinet ministers, and they all said, no. We have a leader right now. We're very, very happy with Justin Trudeau. We're not looking for anybody else. The other name that I've heard several times over the past few months as a potential successor to Justin Trudeau is Chrystia Freeland. She obviously earned a lot of credibility over the past few months with the renegotiation of the Canada, US, Mexico free trade agreement. And more recently with the Americans. You know, she managed to convince the Americans to drop those tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum. So, you know, she's got a lot of credibility right now. She might be she might be a potential successor to Justin Trudeau. We'll have to wait and see. But first, we'll have to wait and see, obviously, what happens on October 21st.
I'm thinking with Mark Carney, you know, the former Bank of Canada governor, he's not going to say that the budget will balance itself, right? He's probably got a little better plan than that.
He knows a thing or two about budgets. Yeah, that's for sure.
U.S. Vice President Mike Pence was in Ottawa recently, and we're getting closer to ratifying that new NAFTA deal, otherwise known as the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement.
The USMCA, as the Americans call it, the new NAFTA 2.0, as a lot of people here in Ottawa like to call it. It was his first visit as vice president. You know, Donald Trump has never traveled to our nation's capital to meet with Justin Trudeau, but his vice president did on Thursday. And as you know, the Trump administration really wants the new deal between Canada, the United States, and Mexico ratified as soon as possible. They'd like to get it done this summer, but they're having some issues in the U.S. Congress where Democrats have a majority now since the last midterm elections. But Mr. Pence tried to reassure Canadians, saying that he and Donald Trump are adamant they want the new USMCA to be ratified by the United States Congress this summer at the very latest. As you know, Justin Trudeau tabled a bill this week to get the Canadian Parliament to ratify the USMCA. But what was really amazing this week is how things have come a long way between the Trudeau government and the Trump administration. You'll recall the nasty tweets by Donald Trump last year when he called Justin Trudeau weak and dishonest. That was in the midst of the renegotiation process between the three countries. And this week, the tone was totally different from Mike Pence. He said that President Trump and I believe that the relationship between the United States and Canada has never been stronger. So things have come a long way. They talked about a whole bunch of things, China, they agreed on a whole bunch of things. The only point of disagreement was abortion. As you know, Justin Trudeau is a staunch pro-choice. Mr. Pence, the U.S. Vice President, is pro-life, and so is Donald Trump, obviously. Mr. Trudeau brought up what's going on in the States, where many U.S. states have decided to pass legislation making it harder for women to get an abortion, to terminate a pregnancy. He brought it up, but Mr. Pence said, you know what? We're going to have to agree to disagree here. He's a pro-life. He's pro-life, and he said that even the best of friends can disagree at times. So no hard feelings, it seems, where abortion is concerned.
I thought you were going to say the other thing they disagreed upon is whether it's going to be the Raptors or the Golden State Warriors who's going to win the NBA championship, right?
That's not a big issue, obviously.
Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg ignored a subpoena to appear before an international committee of parliamentarians in Ottawa. Ray, I didn't know you could do that. Just ignore it.
Well, you can if you're American, if you're not in Canada. I mean, the subpoena in order to appear before a parliamentary committee here in Canada is obviously only good if you're in Canada. but Mark Zuckerberg lives in the States, and apparently that's where he was this week. It's an international committee of parliamentarians from about a dozen countries that met for 3 days here in our nation's capital. They're looking at things like breaches of privacy, the spread of fake news by those giant web platforms such as Google, Facebook, and Twitter. And the fact that Mark Zuckerberg and his senior VP, who also got a subpoena to show up, didn't show up, that was seen as an insult by the committee. They're trying to find ways, basically, those parliamentarians that met in Ottawa for 3 days this week, they're trying to find ways to curb the spread of online hate, fake news online, obviously. And an example that was mentioned a few times during the hearings is that video of Nancy Pelosi, the U.S. Congresswoman, the video was altered a few weeks ago to make it look like she was drunk during a conference. Facebook took forever before removing it. As a matter of fact, some people say it's still up there on Facebook. They were asked, the Facebook representatives, they were asked how quickly they could take down a fake video on a Canadian politician in the upcoming Canadian election that we're going to have. And what they had to say didn't reassure anyone. As a matter of fact, one MP from Great Britain said she was, quote, sick to death of sitting through hours of platitudes from Facebook. So the web giant didn't make any friends here on Parliament Hill this week out.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford has been blasted for all of the cuts he's been making, but recently he had a bit of a change of heart and is backing down from some of those cuts. And that, Ray, should help federal Conservative leader Andrew Scheer.
Yeah, this is a major about-face by the Ontario Premier, who, of course, as you know, is joined at the hips with the federal Tory leader. And actually, last March, when the Ford government tabled its first budget, there was a sigh of relief on the part of Conservatives here on Parliament Hill in the nation's capital. They were relieved that there weren't any major cuts in Ontario, which would have had the potential of scaring voters away. So the fact that Mr. Ford has backtracked on those cuts to municipalities is good news for the federal Tory leader. The Liberals here in Ottawa are already attacking almost every day the federal Tory leader based on what's being done in Ontario by the Ford government. So I don't have confirmation of this, but I'm pretty sure Mr. Scheer has asked other fellow Tories across the country to keep a low profile between now and the next federal election on October 21st.
And Mr. Scheer unveiled the broad strokes of his immigration policy this week, Ray. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, it was his third of 5 major political speeches he's going to be giving between now and the end of the parliamentary session on June 21st. Mr. Scheer vowed as a prime minister he would end what we're seeing right now, a lot of asylum seekers crossing the Canada-U.S. border into our country. He said that he would do that by renegotiating, by canceling a loophole in the Canada-U.S. agreement on the safe third country. In terms of how many immigrants a Scheer government would welcome to Canada, he didn't give any numbers this week, saying he would welcome as many immigrants as Canada needs based on our economic needs. So his policy here still needs to be fleshed out. He says he's going to give some hard numbers in the upcoming election campaign. The Conservatives, as you know, are also being accused by some people in Canada, including some Liberals, of being anti-immigrants. And Mr. Scheer responded to that this week by saying in his speech that there is no room for intolerance, racism, or extremism in Canada. So he's hoping to put that to rest.
Some Mexican drug lords have moved to Canada, apparently thanks to a Trudeau government decision. How's that possible, Ray?
Well, you'll recall that the former Harper government had made it mandatory for anyone coming from Mexico to get a visa to enter Canada. The Trudeau Liberals promised in the last election to do away with that requirement, which they did shortly after they formed government. And we've learned that because of that move by the Trudeau Liberals, some 400 people involved in drug trafficking, we're talking about many drug lords, have moved to Canada since 2015. About half now live in Quebec. And the Canadian government apparently doesn't know exactly where these people are. The Conservatives raised that report this week. They pressed the Public Safety Minister, Ralph Goodale, for answers, and all Ralph Goodale responded is that if anyone coming from Mexico shows up in Canada and can't be properly identified or poses a safety risk, well, that person will be detained. But the fact is, according to our reporting, 400 people linked to the drug trade in Mexico, including some dangerous drug lords, are now living in Canada, and police are looking for them. So this is pretty scary stuff.
Absolutely. Ray, the saga continues between Canada and China. China still has a ban on Canadian canola and pork, and our Foreign Affairs Minister, Chrystia Freeland, is having a bit of a tough time reaching her Chinese counterpart.
Yeah, she told a parliamentary committee here in Ottawa this week that she's trying to have a relationship with her Chinese counterpart, but the problem is she won't even pick up the phone. So there's no relationship right now to be had. And this goes back to what we were talking about just last week. A former Canadian ambassador to Beijing said that even if Justin Trudeau were to pick up the phone to try and get in touch with the Chinese prime minister or Chinese president, they probably wouldn't even answer. This is how angry China is right now at Canada for arresting Meng Wanzhou, the senior Huawei executive, at the request of the Americans. So, yeah, Ms. Freeland said she's doing what she can, but right now China is not answering her calls.
A Senate committee will be investigating the failed prosecution of Vice Admiral Mark Norman. Tell me more about that.
Well, yeah, and Mr. Norman, who has apparently a story to tell, might get that opportunity. As you know, the Trudeau Liberals recently, on the House side, they shut down a request to have an investigation before a House parliamentary committee. Now, the Senate, which is mostly made up of independents, has voted to open an investigation, but in the other House, so Mark Norman, the Vice Admiral, will be called to testify. So will Defense Minister Harjit Sajjan and the Chief of the Defense Staff, Mr. Vance, whose decision it was to suspend almost 2 years ago Vice Admiral Norman from his job as number 2 of the Canadian military. This is going to be very interesting, and it remains to be seen exactly how much Mr. Vice Admiral Norman will be able to say, because he's still in the military. He's not free to say anything he wants. But the beauty of a parliamentary committee is that anyone who testifies there enjoys parliamentary immunity, which means he can't be sued for what you say. But it's going to be very interesting, and it's all going to happen very soon, because that Senate committee is expected to file its report, its conclusions, by June 20th. So it's all going to happen over the next 2 or 3 weeks.
And it remains to be seen how much his testimony may actually impact and hurt the Trudeau Liberals, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be very interesting to follow.
And speaking of Monsieur Trudeau, our Prime Minister is going to be honoring Canadian veterans in Europe next week.
That's right. He's going to be traveling to the United Kingdom and France for the 75th anniversary of D-Day and the Battle of Normandy. Those were pivotal moments, as you know, in the Second World War, and some of Canada's greatest military accomplishments. So, yeah, the Prime Minister is going to be there for the better part of next week. He's going to spend several days in Europe to attend a series of commemorative events, which will be followed around the world. The 75th anniversary, as I said, of D-Day and the Battle of Normandy.
Lest we forget. Our parliamentary reporter, Ray Fillion, joining me once again from Ottawa. Thanks so much, Ray.
My pleasure, Hal.
Southern Alberta and many parts of Canada are experiencing problems with substance abuse, homelessness, broken families, and people struggling to find employment. What are the solutions? Today's guest says she may have some hope for us. Ethel Hoeksma is a certified life skills coach, and she has a diploma in social work. She's also the founder of the Wellness Through Living Society in Lethbridge. Ethel, welcome to Bridge City News.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Now, you saw a need in our community, and I understand that your program is designed to help people get some training in basic life skills. And life skills, tell me a bit about that.
So life skills meaning that they're going to be able to register for a 10-week program. That 10-week program consists of 5 different dynamics of self, family, leisure, community, and job. And within that 10 weeks, they're going to be able to take some cooking classes in our community kitchen.
Oh.
So they'll be able to go over and...
Sign me up.
Yes, oh yes, you'll be able to go over and do some cooking classes. And then the 50-hour job placement. It's mandatory of that job placement in order to graduate.
Now, who exactly would you be serving in the community when you open up the doors?
So we're going to be serving anybody from the ages of 18 to 55. And I say 55, but I use that age really loosely. I mean, you can come in, you know, and come and join us. We just want to help people get well.
Tell me about some of the young people that you've had a chance to talk to, mentor, teach, train, 18, 19-year-olds, just trying to find their way through life, and some of the challenges and the struggles they have.
You know, I've had the opportunity of working with some really, really neat people. We've got a lot of neat people in our community and other communities that I've worked in. They come from a lot of broken homes. They come from single-parent homes. They come from homes that are toxic, just weren't raised well. And they just want to get well themselves. So when they come into a life skills program, they're there to learn, they're hungry to learn, they're starving to learn something new. They want to get on with their lives. They don't like the position they're in, not at all. They want to get better.
And how do I get better? They want to feel accepted, right?
Oh, for sure, accepted, for sure. Not only by the community, but within themselves. You know, how do I get better? How do I feel better about myself?
Now, you're also planning on including a 50-hour job placement and a 2-month nutrition and budget planning course. Tell me a bit about that.
So the community kitchen itself is going to be, well, it's got two dynamics, actually. The cooking classes are where they can go in and do their cooking classes during the 10-week program. And they're going to be able to take at least 40 recipes home with themselves, you know, at the end of the 10 weeks. And then the community kitchen itself is where people can register to come in and do the cooking, where you do your meal planning on Monday night, come in and do the cook on Saturday, and take meals home for, like, let's say a family of 4 will cost you about $40. And then we're going to have some cooking classes in the evening for people who want to learn different types of cooking. So the kitchen's going to be used in 2 different ways. The 50-hour job placement is we're going to be hopefully working with businesses in the community, help us train them to go into a dream job that they've always wanted.
Have the business owners been quite receptive to a lot of these programs?
As I've gone out and I've talked to them, they have a vision of, gee, it would be nice to have somebody who's got some life skills before they got here. I don't want them to take that first paycheck and run and then I don't see them again. I would like them to come and stay with me. I have no problem investing in them. I have no problem in, you know, especially when it comes to plumbers and electricians and things like that. They have no problem investing some money in them, but at the same time, they want that person to stay.
Is this program also available, Ethel, for those who are battling addictions, or more for those who have already conquered those addictions?
I have to be really honest with you. I would really want them that they've gone through detox and then into treatment and then come to us, because that's the process. The process, you go to detox, you go to treatment, then you come to us, and then, you know, we can give you direction on into the college, because we have so many trades out at the college. I mean, we're going to be working really closely with the college, and then we can go on into the different businesses here in town.
Now, like any nonprofit agency, you need some funding to help you out?
Yes.
Where does that funding come from?
Yes. So there are government grants available to us, but in order for us to get those grants, we have to have matching dollars. So part of this presentation today is that our GoFundMe page on the website is that we're hoping that we can get some dollars on there, and those dollars there are going to be in partnership with the government grants that we can partner up, because they're matching dollars. They're always matching dollars. So we got to match those dollars with what the government gives us, and then we can go partner with that. And from there, we have to have fundraisers, of course. And that's just the way it works in today's
What are
world.
some of the biggest expenses incurred, though, for you?
Staff.
Oh? How many staff are we talking about?
Right now, to even open the doors would be 15. But my staff is professional. You have to understand, they're professional people. They're, you know, they're professional people who have degrees, so they have to be paid for their degrees.
Like social workers, nurses, like what?
Oh yes, social workers, not only nurses, but the life skill coaches, we all go to school for our degrees too, so we all have to be paid for our degrees. Office managers, they all went to school too.
What kind of success, Ethel, have these life skills training organizations had in other cities? Did you kind of model this after another city, perhaps?
Well, I went and I got my training in Edmonton probably 15 years ago. And when I was there, I kind of snooped around and I saw what they had. And they had been in existence for a while. Lethbridge is a little bit behind us, you know, when I say us, I mean life skill coaches. I've been on, you know, this trail for a little bit of time trying to get this going. So we're a little bit behind, whereas Winnipeg's had theirs going for over 8-9 years, and Regina's had theirs going. Edmonton and Calgary has had theirs going for years and years. So we're a little bit behind. So we really need to hustle and get stuff going here. And I think that would really help what's going on in our community right now. And it would really give them some gumption. The people aren't in the situation they're in right now in the city of Lethbridge because they want to be there. The numbers of addiction aren't as high as they are right now because those people want to be there. And we have to understand that.
So what are you looking for specifically then in a certified life skills coach? What are some of the qualities of that person that we'll bring to the table that will really help those who are struggling?
They really have to be patient. They have to be really tolerant. They have to understand that some of those people that where they come from may have not been where they have been. They come sometimes with nothing, absolutely nothing. They don't even have a spirit left in them. And so they have to be really patient to take them through the A's and the B's and the C's to get to the end of the 10 weeks. And illiteracy is another thing too.
How about somebody who's maybe been through the program, a huge success, and then goes on to become a certified life skills coach? Because that person could say to those who are struggling,
oh yes,
I've been where you are.
Oh yes.
Right?
Yes, and in fact, we've got a person sitting on our board right now who's been through a life skills program and is now a successful executive director of an organization and has told her story. So it's possible to go to those places, very possible.
Now, are you looking for additional board members right now too to help out?
Yes, that's another thing we are. It's that time of the year and that time of the season again where we need to have some new board members. We've got people who have stuck right through it with us, and we're getting tired, you know, we're getting tired, but we do need some additional board members come on board and do some groundwork. We're still doing some more groundwork, but it would be just satisfying to have some people come on and some fresh ideas and some new ideas to come on board with us and help us out. That would be just the cherry on the top of the pie.
And more volunteers to help out as well?
Yes, volunteers. Our community kitchen is not going to run without volunteers. I can say that up front. You know, we have a Red Seal chef and an assistant to that Red Seal chef, but when the classes are going on in the afternoon with the students, we're going to need the volunteers there to help those students because it's not going to happen. I can't hire enough staff to take care of that. There's just no way. So we're going to need the volunteers. Like the elderly ladies who like to go in and like to do the cooking in the kitchen, that's my dream. I mean, I have that visionary and that's my dream. I don't know if that's all going to happen, but that's my dream.
Make some nice Ukrainian or Polish sausage, or maybe
yeah,
nice Mexican, some enchiladas.
Oh yes, and
burritos,
you know, teach them how to make pies and things like that, because that's what some of those girls dream of making for their families one day. You know, can I make a decent pie for my husband and my kids?
And what areas specifically do you need the volunteers for to help out?
The kitchen is one place, and the other place is, like, we're going to have elders who come in and spend time in the classroom also, so that we can start working on some of the reconciliation issues that we're having with you know, with our Indigenous people. So we will be having elders coming in also. So we need the volunteers to come in and work with the people who just have struggles. Maybe they can't even get to class. Maybe they don't know how to get to class. Maybe they need help reading. because of literacy.
Sure.
You know, and we need someone just to sit with them for the first couple of weeks. Maybe it's just the point of maybe taking them to court, because they still got court case going on. Child welfare issues. You know, we need those people still to help us out.
And you believe that racism has a part to play in all of this as well? Can you speak to that issue?
So what we've got going right now, we've already started on it, is because we got some funding through Alberta Culture. We started a healing circle presently out in Fort Macleod, and we have a elder sitting with us on the healing circle, and anybody can come and join us from any culture on that circle. And it's held out in the Scouts Hall on the 3rd Wednesday of every month, and it's going really well, where people are just coming in and talking about racing,
right?
Just let it out,
right?
You know, and feel safe in that circle, just to talk and not walk out the door and be judged on what I just finished saying, or are my kids going to get beat up at school the next day, or anything like that. Just say what's on your mind. And it's been really going well. We've been going since October, and it's been really going well. And so now the Crown Prosecutor, the office downtown, has given us authority to also take it in to the courts.
How important is it, Ethel, to have a life skills coach who may be Aboriginal helping other young Aboriginals dealing with certain issues?
My experience has been that there are some trust issues sometimes.
Okay.
When Indigenous has to work with Indigenous, because it's trust, because maybe they're related.
Oh.
But then there's other times they feel safe working with their own people. And that's okay. We will work with that at the time.
So it's a case-by-case basis, right?
Yeah, and sometimes you can't always fix everything, because each classroom only has 15 participants in each classroom. No life skill coach can take on any more than that, and sometimes even less. So there's only going to be 15 participants in each classroom, and then we're just going to go from there.
And what about the cost involved? I come to you, I need the help?
No cost for the participant coming through the door. That's going to be under government funding and all the other funding ways that we find. We figured it out, it cost about $1,720 for you to come to us for 10 weeks. You know, cooking classes and everything else involved. And so we will find the funding for that. People come to us too broken. I could never ask somebody that broken to come to us and say, oh, and by the way, you owe us $1,720 before you come back tomorrow morning.
So do you have business owners or people within the community willing to sponsor some of those people who want to come through the program?
Not at this time, because we're just getting to that level of making people believe that this is part of the process. It's been really hard here in Lethbridge. I have to tell you, it's been hard here in Lethbridge. It hasn't been an easy task.
So what are the biggest challenges then?
Probably getting the doors open and making people believe that life skills is part of the step process for getting well. Because it's new, even though all the other bigger cities have been at it for 7, 8, 9 years, and Lethbridge is a little bit behind. And I'm not trying to be sarcastic when I say that, that's just reality.
So any final thoughts, Ethel, on the life skills training program?
We're excited about still opening the doors. We're excited, you know, like we've got a couple real estate people who have come forth and wanting to get the building and do the construction. We've had accountants who have done services in kind. We've had people who've drawn up blueprints as services in kind. Like we've just had many people who have come forth and been helpful.
And when is the goal to have the doors open? Next spring, perhaps? Or?
I would really, really like to see it by the end of the year.
Okay.
But that's me. I'm an eager beaver. That's me.
Right.
Is it going to happen? I can't tell you that. You know, not today. I can't tell you that. I mean, it could happen in the next. You got to give construction at least 6 months.
Right.
You know, on 6 classrooms and a kitchen.
Hopefully sooner rather than later. There's definitely
for sure.
a need in our community here.
There is, and we're asking everybody to step forth and just do their little share. And if everybody stepped forth and did their little piece of work, it would happen.
Ethel Hoeksma is a certified life skills coach And you're also the founder of the Wellness Through Living Society in Lethbridge. Thanks a lot for joining me in studio today.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been just wonderful to be here. Thank you very much.
On behalf of all of us here at BCN, I'm Hal Roberts. God bless and have a great night.